Permian Basin. There are conferences going on all over. They just had a big one in Florida, there's one in Houston, and the Permian Basin is a big topic of this. And you know, one of the things that we've always looked at from the Permian Basin Coalition standpoint is, if somebody's going to captain this ship, if somebody's going to decide our fate, we want some young, intuitive, smart people like Paul who are actually here leading that process as opposed to someone from somewhere else. That's why we are delighted to have Paul with us here today, and he's going to come forward and start talking about how Bitcoin serves Midland and the Permian Basin. You all welcome Paul.
Thank you very much for having me here. I always tell James we've been runs, and yes, I have taken him down my rabbit holes in the crypto space, and I promised him today that I would stay on key, and you guys, it will not be crazy, it will be straightforward. I'm very happy to be here.
The podium. You can be as crazy as you want.
I know.
They can't go.
I'll never get asked anything else. Thank you again for having me here. Yes, my name is Paul. I am an engineer here in Midland. I've been in Midland for 12 years. Started with Southwest operating as a drilling engineer, moved into production. Left there and started a local equal opportunity, and we operate finally some assets all around the basin. Last year we got together with some buddies and we started very.
Paul,
Yes, sir.
will you do me a favor and get a little bit closer to the microphone so some of the people back here?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Last year, my buddies and I started Verde. And Verde was an attempt for us to take what I know in the oil and gas sector and marry it with what I have been studying for the last 6 years on the crypto side. And without further ado, I'll get right into it. Verde Mining was formed in 2021. Since October of last year, we've been on location near the Seminole area for an oil and gas operator, mining Bitcoin using that flare gas. The current setup that we have out there is our proof of concept that we started with. We purchased a phone booth, an 8x4 container for upstream data out of Canada. And we married that with, in the video you'll see a Moser generator. I apologize to Cole, I did not update the video. There is a baseline generator on our site, okay? I promise you that. And so that generator and container on that site is eating 15 MCF of gas a day. And that is of 200 MCF available. The proof of concept was here to determine that we could actually contain that gas, we could burn it, and that we could actually mine sustainably, profitably, and forever. And through this proof of concept, we did realize that that is very much possible. This proof of concept has been so low that we have now, on the final stage of the fundraise for what we're going to be putting out there will be a 40-foot container with 650 S9 ASICs. And that would be paired with a 750 kilowatt Caterpillar G3516 genset. That is going to put the flare out forever. And does this play automatically? Do these videos play automatically, James? Okay. This is the side. You're looking at the flare gas, the actual flare. This is a pump jack. Any environmentalist. That is the upstream data box. Okay, so what's happening here is the flow line is tapped in directly to the flare. And I'm running from the flare directly through an AEV flow meter. And this flow meter allows the operator to see in real time how much gas we're eating, as well as us. That flow line runs directly into the Moser generator. And that generator is derated. It's a 130, that one was a 130 DRC, and it was derated to the 415Y 240 output that I like as the electrical. And so the box that you see is upstream data. It's there vertically. You saw Cole had a couple slides of what containers look like, where you're pulling air from one side and blowing it through all the miners or the A6 inside. This development here from the group out of Canada, they pull the air in from both sides on the bottom. The idea is that you get cooler air lower to the ground. You're pulling that in, it goes up. If there's any contaminants in that air, snow, rain, dust, it has a chance for the gravity to fall out before the air goes up, goes through my machines, and is getting pulled out of the system instead of pushed through. I mean, there's so many different ways you can design this. Sorry, I'm trying. Who accepts Bitcoin today? Somebody asked me this. I threw this slide up because it's important to understand that while I don't buy things with Bitcoin, not yet, you can. And what that looks like are goods and services and or actual goods. These stores are willing to accept Bitcoin for your coffee or, I guess, your power tools. And now we get into the nitty-gritty. How does Bitcoin actually serve Midland? This is really important to me. I have been here for 12 years in the city, and I love Midland. I'm a Red Raider. My wife is from Amarillo. I'm going to be here for another 20 years. And I want to do big things in the city, for the city, and for the people. And this is my opportunity to show you, I think, how maybe we're missing the mark slightly on the cryptocurrency space and what it really can do for everybody. So, how does Bitcoin serve Midland? I see 4 distinct areas where the community is served through Bitcoin. And this is going to be through local schools, the city of Midland itself, the universities here in the area, and all of it is going to be the jobs, the careers, and the technical skills that will come as a result of maybe pushing this agenda. Local schools. I think Bitcoin can serve Midland through education, provide Bitcoin mining on MISD campuses. This would allow students to get hands-on skills while learning about science and engineering in a positive environment. This is more like STEM, but on a higher grade level. I want to bring shop back to the high schools. When I was in high school, I had the option to either work on a V8 or do like 3D modeling before I even got to college. And I went with the 3D modeling because, engines, I already kind of had that. And I wanted something really crazy, and so I did the modeling. And it served me very well when I got to college. And I don't see that happening in these schools this day and age. So I want to bring that back where the kids are actually learning. And they can, as you see here, the Bitcoin that gets mined would go towards the school district. Don't we have that issue where we do so well out here in the Permian and all the money goes to somewhere else, like a Robin Hood program? We could have all that revenue stay here through this application, and the schools are generating it for the schools. I mean, that's an even better process. The kids are learning, and they're doing something for their community, and everyone benefits, I see, in that. The schools are lacking that hands-on education, and Bitcoin could actually allow these students to see the fruits of their labor in real time, because when you turn something like that on at my house, it immediately starts making profit. And so you can, at the end of the day, you'll have an extra $50 in your pocket that you didn't have that morning from that unit right there. As an example, the city of Midland. Midland can mine Bitcoin through the city, for the city. What would that look like? One example would be the waste treatment facility. We go set up a facility on property, city of Midland property, and we pick up more power, and we apply that power to the mine. Anything extra is able to be applied to the waste treatment plant. We are running 24/7. The waste treatment plant does not. We will get a cheaper power plant because of that. The city will benefit from that. Additionally, there's revenue. We're generating Bitcoin on that site. The city would generate revenue from that Bitcoin. We as Midlanders, I am certain, take oil and gas revenue checks for the city, and I know they're happy to cash those checks. I believe they would be happy to cash these checks as well. Bitcoin mining deployments within the city can provide revenue opportunities for the city, as well as the ability to balance the city's electric grid. Bitcoin would bring innovators to our community, and Bitcoin would provide infrastructure improvements, which is probably why a lot of y'all are here listening to these Motran discussions, because of what is to come. And I promise you, these improvements will not last 4 years. The roads. Bitcoin would provide infrastructure improvements in the surrounding communities, including the oil and gas industry. We're not forgetting about the oil and gas industry here. I want to be specific in the approach that the community comes first. The oil and gas industry, and I'm part of it, wouldn't have the industry if it wasn't for us. The community that's willing to come out here and move and establish roots and really try and push an agenda that maybe others frown upon. Bitcoin will provide access to higher paying jobs and efficiencies throughout the community. Like I said, grid balancing, lowering taxes, that would be a really cool idea, and making Midland a smarter hub city, technologically speaking. UTPB and MCC. One of the things I took the opportunity of a couple of years ago was UTPB. So I went to Texas Tech and I went to U of H. Neither one of those campuses are in my backyard, and I'm here in Midland. And so last year, or it was 2 years ago, I jumped at the opportunity to join the engineering advisory board for UTPB and get a chance to get in front of these kids. And so my another angle is the universities. We are not utilizing them to the level that we should be, and even the oil and gas industry is not utilizing what they have in their backyard to the potential. Bitcoin mining on campus could provide research projects and grants. It could provide revenue for research and grad programs. It will draw higher education individuals to relocate to Midland who will want to teach and train in this specific space. The community grows through this actual university's involvement. This will attract the best candidates to West Texas who want to participate and innovate within the space. And I believe Bitcoin brings innovation to the basin. And I'll slogan that because I think that's a great way to think of things. And this would include professors, higher education, IT experts, engineers, more so than what we already have now. And last but not least, there's going to be an ESG component. There is an ESG component to Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin mining will allow us to extinguish the flares throughout the basin. When I moved out here 12 years ago, I could see the stars. I can't anymore, so I believe there will be an opportunity here to alleviate that light pollution and the odor within the basin in some parts. You can smell it. I smell money. Others, they don't like it. But Bitcoin mining on flare gas will reduce CO2 and methane emissions permanently, while also providing a potential revenue stream through the carbon credits. Kat did a fantastic job discussing in depth how that sort of system is existing, is available, and though maybe everyone may not see eye to eye on it, if there is a market to be had, I think, and you are doing good by your operations, I believe you should have access to that. So if I'm gonna mine Bitcoin on flare gas, which I am going to be doing, I would also see that there will be some opportunity to reap some benefits from that. The oil and gas companies across the Permian Basin have an increased focus on ESG, and Bitcoin can help to achieve these goals. How do you mine it? Cole did a really good job, so did Kat, explaining how we mine it. I don't really need to go into any more detail with what they had said, but I will specify here. You can be mined with flare gas, you can be mined with midstream, wind, solar, and of course grid, and last but not least, hydro, which, you know, probably not here. As you can see on the pictures on the far left, that's going to be your typical generator. That's your Caterpillar, something similar to what I will be having on my site in about 1 month. Right next to it, and that's running on natural gas. The one in the middle is, obviously you can see the windmill in the background. That is tied to a windmill directly. And then the third picture is a solar array where they have a immersion system tied directly to their solar panels. This is a slide that is important, I think, you guys to understand. I'm here talking about mining Bitcoin in Midland. And these folks are already doing it. And they probably didn't come talk to Midland and say, hey, how can we help you guys out? Or how can we benefit you guys in your city? And just understand, I'm gonna walk through this. Because it's impressive. The amount of power that we have here, while it be grid and mostly renewables, is an abundance of 1.5 gigawatts. And I just got told at my table that there's another 200 megawatts coming online in West Odessa. Additional to that, there's Riot Blockchain, who is the one down at Austin with that really fancy facility. They just are starting breaking ground on a 1 gigawatt facility in Navarro. And so while all of these are going to happen and continue to happen, I have a desire to see that they come talk to us first. And that I don't believe any of these fantastic companies are reaching out to Midland and saying, how can we help you, when we are going to be pulling our resources from your city. We will be taking your professional experts and we will be deploying them. And then when we mine that Bitcoin, it will go back to Japan, it will go back to California, it'll go back to Germany, it'll go back to London, where all these folks are located. And so, yes, this is a very important piece, and the Bitcoin is growing, and you can see that here. But I'm just saying that I want to do the same thing that they are doing, but with y'all. So, this is happening in our backyard. I think that this is important for folks to know that when you're driving down the road and you see a solar array, they're probably mining Bitcoin off of it as well. Residential mining, this is kind of the last thing. It's not really in my piece, but this would be on a personal level. I brought my black box. Now the black box was something that I ordered last year from Upstream Data, the Canadian company out of Lloydminster that produced the hash hut that we have. The black box allows you to mine at home. It's fireproof, weatherproof, and sound attenuated. I'm not going to turn it on because we would flip so many breakers if we did. And I don't even think the building can handle it. But it is a home mining unit. And you'll see at the bottom there's vents. Internally there is a hot and a cold aisle, and air is pulled in on one side of the box. It will transition up through a turbulent route. It'll go through the miners. The miners are generating all this heat. They will blast that heat out, and it'll come out the other side. that box is, doesn't really serve Midland, it would serve you, but more than anything, that would show you that this is what's coming. The innovation through the space is folks are designing these to hook up to their home central AC, and they are providing heat on their home while they're running Bitcoin. That thing is offloading 140 degrees Fahrenheit air. It is fantastic. It'll heat my house in an hour if I wanted it to. So how do you apply that? Well, you make a cool box and then duct it, and then you have a heater in the winter, and that's making you profit. So in that box, what I wanted to show was this is an S19 Pro. These are, like they said, $10,000 a piece. This is doing 100 terahash per second, and this unit right here will generate in today's market, depending on your electricity rate, anywhere from $17 to $25 a day in net profit. It weighs about 45 pounds. This guy is also the same family. This is a T17 Plus. This is a very finicky model. These are what we bought to start with. Our company did. I'm a tinkerer, so I took these apart on a regular. I would clean them, I would inspect them, a lot of testing. And but that's just because this is a model. It's junk. But we learned that after we got it. These ones only do 60 terahash per second compared to the 100. The 100 consumes 3,010 watts continuously. The T17 is the older generation. This is consuming 3,250 watts around the clock. Okay, so you see 3,250, 3,000. We are innovating and we are getting better and more efficient. It's necessary. You can believe mine for the next 120 years. And the last Bitcoin is mined in 2140. It scores about 45 decibels, give or take. These are 220 volt. I put them on 30 amp circuits each individually, so when they're running, you're not drying clothes. We won't. Apologize, this video is. So that's the hot aisle, and that's the cold aisle. And those essentially run around the clock nonstop, and you could be a participant in mining Bitcoin, just like this. And I believe we will have more of these coming to the market. This is just the first one, and these are Canadians. I mean, the Texans can do this way better. Okay? I promise you we will. That's it. Maybe we'll be with you.
All right, let's get some questions and answers.
Stand here.
Yeah, she's not gonna get you up. What's that?
smarter. Have they ever thought of water cooling these things? My unit at home is water cooled, and it's wonderful.
Sorry, was there a question in that? Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, they do have. So there's models that are coming out now that is the hydro. You can immersion cool these units. You can dip them into a dielectric fluid, right? It's a non-electric liquid. And you can, again, these are going to be completely immersed in liquid. Like the entire unit that you see there is going to sit in liquid, and you're just going to pump this engineered fluid through the system, and I am pulling the heat out in the same way that I would push the heat out with air. I'm going to be drawing that heat out with this liquid. Again, that innovation is coming. It's going to be maybe more streamlined. It does work out here great in the Midland Basin. It is very costly. I will say that's immersion. Additional to that, there is now hydro, which she might be referring to would be the new block where they're actually using water, and they are pumping water through the miner as an individual unit. I don't have one because in order for me to have one, I have to order like 600 of them because they are made in China and they're making you buy in bulk. So, and that hooks up to a container that has to be built by China, and they are running that system. So, we're not making those yet, per se. They are definitely coming. But that innovation is here, absolutely.
So I got a couple questions. The first one is, I think everybody will be interested about it, is what's the actual mining process? That's one. And the second question is, the whole presentation is been focused on Bitcoin. Why is that? I've been interested in mining for a long time, and we did this research and found Ethereum to be a more profitable cryptocurrency mine.
I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm not. I have Ethereum. I've been buying that stuff. I do this day in and day out. In this space, I have a crowd here that is across the board on the spectrum of they know it or they are expert or they don't know. And so, in order for us to get folks on board, I believe Bitcoin, you can start there. I can get you comfortable with Bitcoin and understand how the principle works, why there's a ledger, why it's immutable, why it's the next thing, right? You can come on board and you can start understanding why you might want to use it, or why you might want to buy it. Once you're comfortable there, then we can absolutely go, and I'll hold your hand if you want to, call me. And then we can talk about the other applications. There's the ERC20. I mean, that's where I can tell you I can go for a long time. And a lot of these folks in this room who may have sat down with me, they will attest to that I can keep going. And I don't want to be there for this, right, for the question, but you asked that. So I start that, baby toe them in, and then we can talk about the Ethereum network. Why am I only mining Bitcoin at the moment as the other part? Ethereum is going to go to proof of stake. I've been staking my Ethereum for over a year now, okay? I've never mined Ethereum, but I do believe in the staking. And I have a difference of opinion than anybody else, and it's not financial advice, okay? Under no circumstances is anything I'm going to say is financial advice. That's the application that we see a use case here for the Bitcoin. I have 120 years of job security, okay? The last Bitcoin doesn't get mined for 2140. Ethereum is going to stop being able to be mined. They say in July. It may get skirted another 5 months beyond that. Who cares? It's going to happen within the next 5 years that I'm alive. So I know that there's a limit to that. To get involved into it, I want to start here, and then we can focus on that. I have grid deployments. I have several grid sites. So if you want to mine Ethereum, you can absolutely come talk to me, and I will set you up on one of our sites, and you can probably mine to your heart's content anytime you want. Absolutely.
So personally, I mine Ethereum as well. But as far as going to investors and asking for money, Bitcoin, like Paul said, there's a finite number. There's 21 million coins. So if you're a miner raising, say, $1 million, what the investors want to see is more of, I don't want to say a name brand coin, but something that has a finite supply. Again, I do mine Ethereum, I understand that, but as far as on the business side of things, that's what the investors are looking for. Bitcoin's been around 20 years now, or whatever it is, and it continues to have, I think, every 4 or 6 years, whatever it is. So it's going to constantly acquire more and more power. But from the money side, that's what investors are looking at. Because for those of y'all who don't know, so Bitcoin, there's multiple cryptocurrencies out there. Ethereum is one. There's Ravencoin, whatever it is. Really, the past year, 2 years, a lot of different coins have taken off. And Bitcoin has the same power. So from our business side, that's what our investors are saying if they prefer to put money in Bitcoin.
Great presentation. Thank you so much for everything. Paul, I have a couple questions for you. You displayed some really good technical details that I wanted to kind of digest it a little bit more. Two questions. One of them, you mentioned that you have one of these at your house. It provides heat in the winter if you want to, and it runs at roughly 45 decibels. Can you give us an idea of what 45 decibels is like? That's my first question.
Okay, you want to like give you the most obnoxious sound?
Whatever you got.
Honestly, it's as soft as your condensing unit at your house. Okay, so your AC unit, 5 ton on the back of your house, is a air conditioning unit that is running at about 45 decibels. That same fan noise is what I'm generating out here, and I hope that answers that.
Yeah.
What else?
The other one would be, you mentioned these make about $18 to $25 a day, right?
Yes.
And the machines run like roughly 10 grand.
Depending on how and who and where you're buying, and volume.
Okay, great. Can you give us a rough idea of how long it takes to pay off?
Okay, so current standards right now, most of these miners on an individual level are based in the markets to be a 1-year payout. So like if you're mining on your own with just one machine, it's going to take like a year. When you look online, you're buying and you're saying my minimum order is going to be 1. You're going to get the worst price, you're going to get the highest price, but that price is based on a 1-year payout. And that's another thing that I think benefits the community. When you work with, say, miners under the community, with the community, and I'm here, and you tell me you want to buy some miners, I'm going to order, thousands. Maybe we're doing a project for the city of Midland specifically. I'll put an order together and say, hey, I'm going to order 5,000 miners because we're going to put this awesome asset in place. Hey, does anybody in the community need miners for themselves? Y'all want anything? Oh, you want some? Okay, because I'm going to get them at bulk pricing, and I'm going to be getting mine at like $6,500, and that's S19 Pro. They're $6,500, and when you look at my model, it doesn't even, those sorts of abilities in the space are why Marathon and Riot Blockchain are building out 800 megawatt facilities, because they're buying up the entire market. And then you and I are stuck with these $10,000 machines paying for, I don't know what it is, their profit. And I disagree with that so wholeheartedly. I want to buy in bulk, and I can help you buy in bulk too. And like, if we are together, then you just added 500 more miners to the order. Maybe the price goes down a little bit more. We all benefit. Like, it doesn't matter, right? And so hopefully that answers your question. The $10,000 machine is what it was. The one in the back, the T17, we actually bought used from China after it had been running for 2 years, and that was $2,500 a machine. So we bought 40 of them, spent $100 grand. I went and picked them up. It was very sketchy, and but that's what engineers do, we get into it. So that's the metrics you can have. And buying new in bulk, you can get good pricing, fair pricing.
And I'll add to that too, because when we're looking at mobilizing these out of the site, you have to consider not just the payback for the equipment for the miners, but also paying for the power generation, SIG&A that goes with it, all of the environmental, the process safety. So we're looking at rolling it up into an oil and gas site. It's not a 1 year payoff, it's more like 2 to 3 years.
Great presentation today, guys. Just a heads up, 6,500 for S19 Pro is a smoke deal, so Paul, I'll get in on that one. We're getting a lot of interest in immersion, and I've seen people make predictions about, 20 exahash will drop off this summer, coming from West Texas, dropping off due to the heat. My question is, can these air-cooled systems hold up out here in West Texas? And that's the first question. And then number two is, what do you think about immersion on the well pad?
Okay, go over the heat one again, for Texas, West Texas heat. The air system, I feel very confident about it. The mine that I run out in on the flare gas, I don't want to go into specifics, obviously, with every result, because I don't have that slide here, or that deck here, but they're very resilient machines, and they're made for that. Like, it's incredible. The technology here is very smart. These machines are AI. I have a partner that runs, he's a PhD partner of mine, and he's not here today, but he's got a fantastic model that he runs in software. And the software will run and tell the machine to determine whether or not it should be mining the Bitcoin or sending the power back to the grid. And what's going to happen is, during the summer months, when it gets really hot, is our Bitcoin mines that are running on flare gas are going to be tied to the grid through interconnects. We're going to be able to sell power right back to the grid. When you guys have your Armageddons and your afternoon heat spells, your winter problems again, we will be off grid, providing true power back to the grid. And so as an offload there for your question for heat, if heat is an issue at any point, which I'm concerned for July and August, you can play into those demand response programs to your benefit as the Bitcoin operator. And I will offload on purpose between the hours of 3 and 6 every day. I'll sell my electricity back to the grid because the grid's going to pay me 14 cents per kilowatt, and I'm generating it on flare gas at 50 cents per MCF is what I locked up for a 3-year contract. At 50 cents per MCF is 0.006 cents per kilowatt hour. I'm 0.6 of a penny per kilowatt hour for my power generation. So I don't know, any grid plays that are doing 0.006 cent contracts delivered. So yeah, we got to pay for all the other equipment out there, but setting up the power in this correct fashion is the means that can answer. What about the heat? Well, when I'm running the heat, I'll just cycle down my machines and I'll just keep running that generator, and I'll sell the power to the grid. But I am also, at the same time, there will be a point where the Bitcoin price is worth more than the power that I'm selling. And I believe that these machines and the systems that we are putting out there in the field today will have plenty of airflow on what the systems are now. With just natural airflow, I believe they'll have fantastic results. And I'll let Kat talk about the immersion.
So the immersion fluid that he's referencing is kind of like a mineral oil type of thing. You actually dip the whole ASIC into the liquid. And so for me, from an environmental perspective, there are some inherent issues with having that in the oil field, right? Because if you spill it, then you've got reportable issues, right? It's not water. So I kind of favor, if we move into more the water cooled, I think that's a good option for the oil field, but I'm just a little bit hesitant on the immersion in the oil field. But some people are doing it successfully, but that's just one thing on my mind.
I'll add to that. It is the hydro system or water. It's a water cooling block, just like your GPU miners. If you are any video gamers in here on PC, I am one. And on the GPU, your graphics processing unit, your video cards, you could have a block that you're remember, with the energy density that we are creating, 40-foot container could have 4 megawatts of power inside that container. And the hydro systems allow me to overclock. I can run my miners at a higher consumption. They can eat more electricity if I'm running them in immersion and hydro. But that also is going to eat up the life of that miner. It wasn't made to do that. It wasn't made to be overclocked. But it can be. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to overclock my stuff. I'm going to run it simple and smart and smooth. And again, it's water and electricity. Okay, I am an engineer, and I'm just going to tell you right now that that doesn't mix well. Okay, if I walked in there and something's spewing, and I'm like, there's electricity, I don't know what's hot and what's not. That whole box gets shut down. Whereas on an air-driven unit, every miner has its own smart PDU. I can power cycle an individual miner from my phone. I can turn it off if it's causing problems, and then I don't have to even visit the site. So the technology is there. These boxes are very smart. You know that. You're making them.
Well, quick question. I was noticing that you guys supply generators. What's a generator cost? Let's say we get from the little one to the big one, and then follow-up question to that. What is the preferred? I saw that your generators were 480 volt. I assume that's a ballast load. Anyway, let's talk about generators and that cost, because we really hadn't addressed that.
Yeah, I'd love to discuss pricing. No, I know we do actually. Certainly hard to work on, but we do have several competitors here, so I'm not going to get down to the specifics. But if you're looking at, I'd say the smallest one that we have out there right now is 50 kW. So you're looking anywhere from say $2,500 a month, all the way up to one of our bigger 350s. It all depends on terms: 6 month, 12 month, 2 year, 3 year. It gets better economies of scale. It's going to be anywhere from say 6,000 to 10,000, depending on the pricing. So it's typically what we see. Some guys will go out, they'll buy their own. Sometimes there's some issues. They'll buy their gens from generatorsurplus.com or whatever it is. And then the biggest thing in Bitcoin, obviously, as we've all preached, is having that uptime. And so if you can't find a good mechanic around you, or at least a reliable one, which is tough enough, then it becomes an issue. So usually the guys are going to buy them, they'll switch them out, bring us back in, vice versa. And then your voltage, so most guys will run it off of 415.
Has landfill gas been looked at? Many of the subtitle be landfill. What we have to collect and flare environment use for it. Has that been looked at? Is it feasible?
Yes.
It's too dry there.
Let's talk. One of the issues with landfill gas, we've got a lot of CO2 coming off of it, so we need to make sure it'll burn, right? We have to make sure we have enough BTUs to send that into an engine to combust it. But from an environmental perspective, it's awesome, right? Because if you're collecting that landfill gas, what are you going to do with it, right? You can either flare it, you can sell it. I think it's great to Bitcoin mine it. We can talk about carbon credits, right? We can free up space on the air permit, because if you're flaring it, that flare is taking up space on the air permit. You've also got greenhouse gas removal that you're doing on that site, so it's reducing greenhouse gas emissions by running it through the generator. It's not as easy per se, because the gas itself is a little bit nastier, right? We got some interesting compounds coming off of it, and it's not necessarily the easiest to burn, but there are ways that we can treat it up a little bit and burn it like in a microturbine or something. So let's talk.
I can talk, I'm pretty loud. So my question is probably more for Paul, is how are you planning strategically to keep people that are not from Texas and like China, California, that kind of competition, out of our oil and gas operators' offices, and making sure that they want to do business that have companies, or that your company that has the best interest for our area? Because I'm in sales and I know what it's like dealing with competition and getting the win
I'm completely agnostic to the competition. I don't care about the competition. I really don't. I love it. All I care about is that someone doesn't come into our backyard and get a contract with Pioneer or Endeavor and burn a bridge. You know, like put up something that's not available and talk their language, whatever they do, that burns that bridge, and then Pioneer's like, you know what, we tried this, it didn't work. We're not doing anything, it's not good for us. And then you have lobbyists going against us, and it's the operator lobbyists who are going to get things done. And then that's a problem when it's just because one person was coming in here, and had it been more checks and balances, had you had the foresight to be like, oh, I don't just want to jump at any opportunity, I want to make sure that the people are aligned with us. They're obviously in the same area. You know, I want to bring repair people here. Currently, I have to send my equipment to Dallas to get repaired. I had talked to my repair guy, said, hey man, I got businesses, I got offices here. Why don't you move your guys out here? I'm part of the university. I'll go take some of these electrical engineers, I'll send them off to this camp to go get trained to fix everything. Let's start another business down here. Let's get the NDCC involved. Let's start investing in that. Then you have a repair company here. Then everyone's going to just send their miners to Midland, whether they have mining in Midland or not. And then our hub is now mining repair, and then more folks are going to step through that. And what's just going to happen is the community is going to have an understanding of the space, which is the knowledge that we all want. I'm trying to get out there, so that when you do have that gentleman or lady step through your door who may not be from America, which is completely fine, you at least can ask those questions and know the knowledge that we are trying to deploy to say, hey, do your interests align with me? Where is that money going to go that you're going to take? Are you going to take it back to wherever? I want things here to happen. You know, I want to see these kids get education here, not in Fort Worth. Nothing's wrong with that, but you know, Fort Worth is doing some sort of mining with 3 S9s. It's making maybe $2 a day. I'm going to blow that out of the water if the city lets me work with the city. So wait until the news comes out what the city of Midland is doing with Bitcoin mining. And it's not going to be what Fort Worth is doing. So I'm just going to put that out there as well. Like, we need to make sure that the right folks are coming to the table to talk to who are going to do work in our backyard. They're already doing it. It would be nice if, before you poll all my professionals that I would like to hire for my company that I'm trying to build up, that maybe we could work together and we could both bring people to this environment. Because we're all going to benefit from this. So that's really where, there's no competition. We need people here. And that drives the innovation too.
I think another part of it is understanding your corporate culture